This is amazing. And the connections that you are going to learn if you're joining us for the first time about, well, what's local got to do with green?
Yeah.
You are going to be amazed, and you're going to find out a whole lot more in the first half. So come on back for more Green is Good.
If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good. And we're so honored today to have our first repeat guest ever, Charisse McAuliffe, the founder and CEO of GreenIsGood.com. Charisse was on last year. And Mike, she's our first repeat guest. And Charisse, thank you for being on with us again. And thank you for doing great things. And there's so many great things to talk about that you've done with your website. Thank you for coming back on Green is Good.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and Charisse, we love your website. We're big fans, and in fact, Mike's on it now. And while we're doing the show, and welcome back. And I, one of the things that stick out the most that you've done since you've been on last time is your wonderful iPhone app. You want to talk about a little bit when you launched it and how it's been received, and what our listeners can do if they go to your iPhone app?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so our app is called FindGreen, and it's been live in the iTunes store since about last September, I guess we'd say. And it functions very similar to our website, so except mobily. So when you're on the go, it's going to be able to deliver to you the closest vegetarian restaurant or maybe your closest farmer's market. We get a lot of really great feedback from people that are traveling that use it to help negate their green lifestyle while on the road and in unfamiliar cities.
Wow.
In late January and into February, iTunes store, FindGreen was chosen as a staff favorite pick.
Wow.
And it was amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's a huge honor, and there's hundreds of thousands of apps out there.
Sure.
To actually be one of the chosen ones. I think there's 25 or 30 chosen kind of favorite apps in this one section of the iTunes store. It's and to be a staff pick, which kind of is this, it to me is even different than maybe like most downloaded or because it's the Apple people actually sitting there and working on these things. We saw just a tremendous amount of downloads in the app, and that was a real honor, and it was really exciting to have seen that happen. They don't notify you when you're chosen. Instead, we just noticed this massive insurgence of downloads from out of nowhere, and we started digging around going, what happened? We went from maybe having a couple hundred downloads a day to thousands of downloads a day.
And excuse my ignorance on this issue, but what is the new iPad that's coming out? What does that mean for your app and for our listeners who want to access your app? Is that just more people using who have access now to your app through another platform?
Yeah, well, here's what's so interesting about the iPad.
Yeah.
Because it's a larger format, I find, and we're finding too, as we play around with things, that when you're working with apps that use the Wi-Fi signal and that use which these iPads allow you to be online, if a website actually is present,
sure,
that you end up wanting to use the company's websites more than you want to use the app.
Gotcha.
Apps are made to be this kind of like dumbed down version of a website that fits onto a mobile phone and platform really well.
Right.
And so whether it's our app or another app that is in existence, let's just, say Pandora or something like that you end up wanting to, if the website works better than their app does, you end up using the website on the iPad, mainly because it's a bigger format and you actually have more functions and features on it. So
what a great
for
point.
us, what the challenge is as an app developer is trying to find something compelling to change around about your app that caters to the iPad audience and to continue to want to drive traffic there and not just to your website.
Great point. That's a great point. Hey, I want to go back to something and that we talked about a little bit on the first time you came on, but something that's evolving that Mike and I talked about in our intro to you. Your tagline under your wonderful website heading GreenIsGood.com is "Find the green in everything locally," and you do have the largest green directory in the United States. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's true.
So if all politics are local, and as Mike and I have learned with so many of the guests that have come on in between the last time you were on and today, that people are doing things locally, such as green eco fashion, and what's more local than our clothing. You offering solutions in everybody's zip code and making it convenient to be green, has that been one of some of the wind at your back as your site has taken off and been such a massive success?
It really has. I think people, especially as people become compelled with a notion, let's just say it's solar power, and they feel like, okay, I've been reading about it in my Time magazine or I've seen it on the TV, but how can I really get my hands on this?
Right.
Being able to quickly identify a solar panel company that's local, that you trust, that has been verified, that you can call and have come to your house and talk to you about the options for you.
Right.
It's all about making it easy and making it up somewhere that people can trust. The other part of it is that, like, let's say I read about geothermal.
Sure.
I don't necessarily know if I flip to my yellow pages, how do I find a geothermal a person to come and give me some sort of information about this? I, as a layperson, may not know that plumbers might specialize in this, and that some of these areas within the yellow pages, you've got to kind of try to find this. Within Gen Green, you can go and just quickly look at geothermal as a type of alternative energy and find providers for that. So same thing with eco-fashion and being able, let's just say that there's a product line that's sold all over the United States.
Sure.
How can I find that particular product inside a local boutique here in my town and be able to support them with that product versus maybe buying it online from a store that's a couple states away, because that's the quickest and easiest way I found it. And that's one of the things that we're really trying to help negate. People in our system that are web-based, let's just say that have web-based businesses, we force them to be listed within the cities that these businesses originate, and they were always kind of going, well, we service the whole country, we want everybody to know it. And I said, that's great, but, let's say whatever you're servicing the whole country with and your product may be sold on multiple platforms. We want the people in your town to know that by buying it from you, even though it's online, it still goes back to support your local schools, their tax dollars. It's this whole cycle of bringing money back into your community and supporting your own community, and hopefully building stronger, more solid, locally driven communities by reinvesting in them.
Now, for our listeners out there that are greening their business or actually starting green businesses and they want to be part of your listings, how do they do that? Is that a process they could do online, or do they have a phone number they're supposed to call, and how does that work?
Yeah, businesses can come onto the site and submit themselves for consideration for the directory. What will happen is they come in, they fill out a pretty short one-page form. It takes maybe 5 minutes or so, and they will then submit themselves in, and then usually within about 24 to 48 hours, someone from our content team has gone through and has assessed their submission, and most likely will be brought in upon that first stab. I would say, only 10-15% of the time do we have to go back in with follow-up questions and more, dig in a little bit deeper to find out whether or not they're an appropriate fit for our directory or not. But it's a very self-serving system that people can come in and do voluntarily. And then after they've been approved, they can then take it a step further and become certified through our system as well. And they can, and that is a little bit more of a drawn out, longer process that you take a few hours, but once they've been able to take that, then they can utilize the certification in different marketing materials and different ways of helping tell the world what they're doing. That's
so like Google, you get to see what people are searching. So when you go back and you look at your data over, that what people are searching for and what the trends are, what's your perception and what's the visibility you have on the future of the green revolution and what people want and what people are buying or accessing on your website?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, we found some really fantastic and interesting trends in 2009 that we found very encouraging. And we're actually working right now on putting together a report to submit out that really reaffirmed some of the actions that were happening in 2009. such as the fact that we actually saw over 20% of an increase in growth in and around green building.
Wow.
Where traditional construction and traditional building across the entire country had a significant drop in 2009.
Right.
And that we actually saw quite a surge. And what was interesting, too, is that after and we could recognize it really in Colorado because we were very in tune to when some of the weatherization credit bills were passed and some of the other dollars from the government were dropped into renovations, retrofitting, and things like this, where we saw kind of surges in both businesses carrying new green building products, switching over some of their programs from maybe traditional building practices to more green building practices to better suit this demand that had been instigated, that had been stimulated by some of the federal dollars that were being poured into it.
And besides weatherization, Charisse, you also mean, so for instance, if I want to renovate my kitchen in the zip code that I live in and I go onto your site, I could find designers and architects that can help me green my kitchen when we do the redesign. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep, you're going to find everybody that may supply recycled material countertops to some sort of geothermal heating system that can go under your tile floors.
Wow.
To your Energy Star appliances, you name it. So these guys, we saw a significant growth in that. We saw quite a bit of growth in ecotourism. Was another interesting area that in voluntourism. So people doing eco and volunteer-driven travel adventures. We saw quite a bit of growth in that industry. And then alternative energy, which is a separate industry for us outside of green building, we saw quite a bit of growth in that as well. And all of which was encouraging because, though we saw a decrease in the amount of, we had probably 2 to 3% decline in businesses going out of business and consolidating. We saw a greater amount of growth overall that the green industry in America maintained a stable and minimal growth phase during this 2009 recession based on our data. If we just look at our sample set of our 65,000 companies in our system as our sample set, I consider that a pretty reassuring fact that green as an industry withstood some of the most damaging and difficult financial times that our generation's known yet. So very encouraging.
Oh, well, indeed it is. And, Charisse, I'm on your site right now, which if you want to follow along, if you're listening, and you got a laptop, whatever, it's Gen Green Life, GEN greenlife.com. And I'm looking right now at the green businesses. What prompted this was, John, you said, okay, I want to remodel my kitchen.
Right.
Well, you're in luck. I mean, there are several home remodelers. There's construction if you want to do new construction, everything from transportation to lawn and garden care, lawn services, where you don't have to worry about dumping a bunch of pollutants into the air just because you hire somebody to do their lawns. It's really, this is amazing, Charisse. I had no idea that already how many green businesses are available just in this one zip code locally.
Yeah.
So,
we've I get kind of like proud and choked up when I look at some of the different areas of the country and some of the great companies that have emerged, especially in the last 6 months. And people are getting incredibly innovative. People are really, when you, like lawn care, like you said, we've worked with the Clean Air Lawn Care company, which has established a franchise model for this clean air lawn care style of yard taken care of, where they're using solar panel trucks to power their all-electric, weed whackers and lawn mowers, and not all natural fertilizers and things. And we worked with the main franchise office, and we've been watching more and more of these clean air lawn cares just popping up all over the country, which and they're coming from a lot of the times people who ran traditional lawn care companies in the past that have wanted to make the switch and are using their formula to want to do it right and wanted to do it this new natural non-polluting way, which is, it just gives me kind of the warm and fuzzy. So,
also, I mean, locally here, and I've been on your website, I don't know how many hundreds of times, but the animal and pet movement when it comes to greening, and also the dry cleaning movement, right? When people clean their clothes, and how you've also created solutions in every zip code for those items.
Yeah, absolutely. No, pet care has been a fantastic way. I had we got a submission recently from an animal rescue shelter kennel place that had submitted themselves, and it says, and one of their questions was, about talking about how they are green, and they said recycled pets. And I had to start laughing because I was like, that's so true.
Mike and I have a lot of wonderful guests on, but we've never run into a site like yours since we've met you, Charisse. And tell us, first of all, is there any competition out there that even comes close to your kind of directory right now that makes it so local and accessible and convenient?
There's not. What there are is there's a number of locally driven guides and directories within certain cities.
Right.
And certain parts of the country have their own kind of micro guides.
Sure.
And there are a couple out there that have taken on 3 or 4 or 5 different cities to manage themselves. And we work in partnership with many of them and help support them and what their efforts are. A lot of them we hold, all of their directories within our system too, such as your next guest, Denise, and Green America.
Right.
Gen Green, we house all of the Green America members within our system as well, so that we can push them out into the world through our various channels. We're live on GenGreen, live.com, but we also supply lots of different local television stations under their green sections, their green living sections, with our directory as well. That's branded as ours.
Wow.
It looks like ours. And so we just did a deal with ABC Corporate where we're actually pushing our database and our directory through ABC's, and we're working on a deal right now with Nexstar, so that we hopefully will be able to start to service their 55 different local markets with this information too. The whole idea with that is just being able, when people are going to their local news stations for information,
sure,
that we're able to hopefully educate them with our information as well, versus having to, a lot of times people get in the habit of going to the same place every time when they're looking for information.
Right.
It's one way that we can help service them. So Green America looks to us to help push them out into the world, both through our iPhone apps, our FindGreen, which is also available on BlackBerry and is available on Google's Android platform as well.
Wow.
And then we lift them up and let everybody know that they're in our system. We kind of like to feel like a big umbrella.
Right.
Of all these different great groups.
So you're the most comprehensive. Also, do you cover? Because this is another where I want to know about the future of your great website. Do you cover Canada?
We actually have just begun to expand into Canada.
Congratulations!
We do, and in fact, we've got about 5,000 listings in Canada right now, and are growing. And Canada is. We've been working with a partner in Canada called Green Zebra on a new coupon program that we're working on for our iPhone app. That's
great.
We're testing it there and analyzing it there before we roll it out here into the United States. But yeah, Canada has come on board, and we're expanding there every day a little bit more. So
well, that makes sense because when you go to Toronto or go to Vancouver, and I've had the honor to do so. I mean, they're very green cities. It's a green country, so it would make sense that they would love your website and use it.
Yep.
So so then talk about. Besides future trends, which we'll go back to that in a little bit, but then how do you take your amazing concept? Can you take it on the road beyond North America? Can you take it to both sides of the ocean, to Europe and Asia, which they would love this also, it looks like?
Yeah. We, part of when we built our platform, it was in a format that we felt like could be adopted into other countries with ease and in a seamless and relatively easy pattern. The biggest challenge is always around the GeoIP. But
good point.
as satellites and our GPS systems and all the technology around identifying locations gets better and better and better, the easier it is for us to expand into other countries. But that is on the grand horizon.
Good.
Finding ways of making it easier for other countries to assemble all their data too, because like us, where we have a bunch of different little microcosms of listings and local directories and local coupon guides and local books like that. It's all about the need to pull it all together into one place.
Gotcha.
To streamline communication, and we want to be able to continue to do that for all the countries that'll have us. So.
Hey, and Charisse, we're down to the last 2 or 3 minutes, but I want you to briefly touch on the LOHAS movement, and then also share with our listeners. So many of them are entrepreneurs, and you're a real entrepreneur who has done something really amazing and made the world a better place. And I'd love you to also, after speaking a little bit about LOHAS, share a couple of pearls of wisdoms for entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs out there that are listening and want to follow in your footsteps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Well. The one thing I'm excited about the LOHAS movement and the fact that it has had the staying power that it has had. 2009 was an incredibly hard year for all businesses in this country.
Right.
It didn't matter what sector, what industry you were in. But I feel like that everybody who has been going the sustainable route with their businesses and those who have just come on board can feel a great confidence in the fact that no matter how hard it got in 2009 for the people of the United States, they did not lose the need, the demand, the want, the desire to go green. And that sticking around and keeping with keeping our eye on the ball and our eye on the prize of what it is that we're ultimately trying to do here, that we can feel good that we're still doing the right thing. And that as an entrepreneur, it's all about, being tough and being, putting on that kind of, I don't know, when it gets hard, when business gets hard, there's something about knowing that what we're doing is making the world a better place that really makes those tough days easier.
Well, that's great.
I can't explain that, if I didn't feel like I was able, when I had a bad month, if I didn't feel like I hadn't touched somebody's lives or have improved the world in some small way, I may have just wanted to throw in the towel. But
Gotcha.
I look to all of these other entrepreneurs and all of our green businesses out there that may have a tough month and say to themselves, how do I really want to keep going? Do I really want to keep going on in this fashion? And that they can look at it and say, well, even if I didn't, break even this month, or if I'm, revenue was down.
Right.
Just think of the positive impact that they've made in the world by this product and service that they're providing, and know how much richer they are, not just in cash and in capital, but in karma points, for lack of a better alternative, and making the world a better place. They can feel a lot more wealthy because of that.
Well, Charisse, that's well put. And Mike and I could probably go on and talk to you for another two or 3 hours. And my guess would be Mike. Charisse is probably going to be our first three-peat guest on the show.
You're well on track to be doing that, Charisse.
But for all our great listeners out there, please go to Charisse's amazing app and download it, FindGreen, on the iTunes Apple network, the app network. And also, please go to her beautiful and unbelievable site, gengreenlife.com, GenGreenlife.com. And remember, you can find the green in everything locally, and Charisse's site, gengreenlife.com, makes it convenient to be part of the solution and to become part of the green revolution. Charisse McAuliffe, you are living proof that green is good.
Thank you, guys.